Thank you for being here during this live stream on Halloween Day. Hopefully, you have some candy next to you, maybe a few drinks as well of your choice. Could be chocolate milk or it could be a margarita. It's up to you. But I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. I love Halloween. It is by far my favorite holiday since the beginning, actually. But we have a few things that we will be covering here today. It will also be an interactive show as it is live, answering your questions. The best way for me to see your questions is when you put them in all caps with a good question mark. That way I can see it the best. But to start off with, talking about NASA, is there a cover up? Well, many people, especially those in the comments after every show of any update about 3i Atlas, the answer to many is yes. Now, there's been a lot of changes with NASA in the last year, actually, starting off with in 2026, their budget's going to be cut by 24%. That is extensive for them. Now, for us, just your average Joe, that's going from 24 billion to about 18 billion dollars for them just to throw around and have a little bit of fun with. And as we've seen with the James Webb Space Telescope, for instance, or even the Europa Clipper, they spent decades, seems like, creating this tech, and then they always need more money than what they ask for a handful of different reasons. So will this budget cut really affect space exploration? Well, we won't know until it takes place. But it seems that with the latest updates from 3i Atlas, the JUICE mission is we're not going to be receiving that data, though the data that's going to be collected from JUICE until February of 2026. But now with this budget cut, will that affect it in any way? Simultaneously, back in August, just a few months ago, the Trump administration made a really quiet executive order stating that NASA will operate as a national intelligence and security agency going forward instead of what it was originally doing, right? Like exploring everything. And Sean Duffy, the head of NASA, has mentioned that they're no longer going to be looking at Earth sciences, but only investigating space sciences. While we continue, I'm going to actually share my screen here and say hello to everyone in the live chat. Thanks for being here on Halloween. We got Moon at Noon, we got Wes, Nick, Charles, Mint, that's a fun name, Billy, Apocalypse, appropriate for today. Yes, Apocalypse Promotions. Nice. Charles. Oh, wait, there he is. Charles, John, Aaron, thank you guys for being here. And there's so many more. And I'll say hi to many of you in just a minute. But I know that you came for a bit of a chat, but also the latest stuff when it comes to is NASA covering up the images from 3i Atlas? Well, one thing that has been stated over and over again, very specifically from Avi Loeb, is the HiRISE from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter took images back in October 2nd. And we still haven't gotten those images. Now, the excuse is, oh, it's the government shutdown that is causing that. That's why the public will never receive those images. But that orbiter takes some very crisp photos, and those images would be a telltale sign if there are any kind of unique structures on 3i Atlas. But for the time being, we're just speculating. Now, we are getting data consistently. There was a report that was just released yesterday. It was actually a draft scientific paper written by those from Lowell Observatory and from a U.S. Navy laboratory, where they go into detail about how the brightness has changed and the color of 3i Atlas has changed as well, from green, this greenish hue, to blue on the light spectrum. That is very strange. We don't really know what's going on, but that's why you tune in here, because whenever any news comes out about 3i Atlas, we cover it right here first. So that just came out yesterday was really, really surprising for the majority of people. Of course, there were a few that said, I already knew that, Christina. But for everyone else, we were like, what is going on? And then one more thing that I did want to mention about this, about NASA in particular, is how the shutdown is affecting NASA in particular. But actually, before we even touch on that, all these other agencies worldwide are also being very quiet. The only one that's kind of stood out, and not even that much, but a little bit, is ESA. That's the only one where we got a few images, we got a few little gifts here and there, but that was about it. As for NASA, well, Sean Duffy said, oh, we're ultra transparent. We'll tell you everything. Oh, that microbial life on Mars? Oh, yeah, we're going to tell you about it because we're so transparent. I feel like NASA's eating their words right now because by no means have they been. Now, will that change in 2026 with that budget cut? Will that benefit to the public or not? Let me know in the live chat for those catching this live, because that is a genuine question worth asking. Now, I want to throw this on over to you. I want to chat with you here on Halloween day, evening, or night, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for being here. Moon, thank you for being a member for 3 months here on YouTube. Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't call 911, okay? We're totally fine. I'm already dead. So that's my costume for today. Maybe all of you are dressed up, or at the very least, I mean, eating a little bit of candy, getting that little sweet tooth in there. Because I mean, if you could pick any day of the year to eat candy, pick today. Diet or no diet, today is the day to do it. And check out this. You followed your mug, just came. Actually, I broke mine and I was so heartbroken. New one came in and it is fantastic. Also, is anyone going to comment on this alien pumpkin over here in the back? Got it ready just for today, just for Halloween day. If you have any questions, please place them in all caps. That'll make it the easiest for me to read. Costume looks like old Michael Jackson video. Yeah, Thriller, classic. Can't go wrong with that. So good. Let's see. Also, just here. T-Royd says, I think the budget cuts will only make things worse. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't know when the last time NASA even got a budget cut, so we'll see how it will affect them. It is public knowledge that a lot of people in NASA were laid off during this time frame. So that's definitely going to make a big difference there, especially with the amount of eyes that are going to be watching all of these different satellites, all these different cameras that are out there. But yeah, it's hopefully it benefits us. So again, place all of your questions in all caps or as super chats as well. That's another great way to support this channel and for me to read your questions as well. Travis says, just saw a story today that Trump is demanding they pass a budget, so hopefully soon. That will be very interesting on if NASA or even the Pentagon can pass an audit by any means, and if so, if they can make that information public as well. And happy Halloween. Thank you for being here, as always. I did want to ask what many of you guys think about 3i Atlas. I've been covering it here for the last few weeks as practically new information is coming out almost every single day. And what is done here is covering the latest and then giving a little bit of background for those that aren't catching up as to what's going on. But what started off as something like, oh, just another thing in our solar system, no big deal. All of the latest data is just leading more to something that is so strange, that isn't following our paradigm of how we understand comets. Now, space, the universe, the galaxy is so vast. Of course, we will always encounter something that we do not explain that has natural origin. And this is kind of falling into that. Really, really unique, all these characteristics that are being documented. Dubsonian, good to see you here. Happy Halloween, Christina. Nice surprise. I'm surprised that you're here. Thank you. And please follow Dubsonian. He does great work when covering 3i Atlas. He does have his own solar telescope as well, which is really interesting when he covers that. So make sure to give him a follow and listen to what he has to say about what's going on there. It is very, very weird, and he has the right tack to investigate that kind of stuff. Bob Hammer, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Please tell the haunted vacuum cleaner story. Okay, just because it's Halloween, I'll tell the story. So, kind of making me laugh now. I tell the story when people ask me, have you ever had a paranormal experience? And the answer to that is yes. I will give you a summarized version, but here is what happened. My freshman year in university, I had no money at all. So I had to ask one of my classmates to borrow their vacuum to clean up my living quarters. And she was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Just pick it up from my place and you can just drop it off whenever." I'm like, "Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it because I don't have $50 to buy a vacuum." So we chat it up. I go to her place, we talk it up, and I take the vacuum home with me. I put it in the car. And while I'm driving, I'm thinking to myself, is there someone in the car with me? This is I look behind, look in the rearview mirror, and I don't see anything. But I just sense that someone was in there with me. But I didn't think much of it. I'm like, whatever, it's just my paranoia, no big deal. Well, I take it home and I put it in the corner of the living room. And I'm like getting everything ready to make sure that I'm ready to vacuum. Then all of a sudden in the bathroom, I saw like this ginormous, really heavy candle sitting on top of the toilet and it fell in the trash can. Now, there was no excuse, rhyme, or reason for that to happen, but I don't think much of it. I put the candle back on the toilet and I continued doing my things before I begin to vacuum. Then it happens a second time. Now, at this moment, I'm feeling a little nervous. I'm like, okay, there's no one in here. There's no earthquakes. There's no fan. There's nothing going on. There is absolutely no reason for this 2-pound candle to move into the trash can. And it didn't break, by the way, surrounded by glass. So at this moment, I'm low key freaking out. So what do? I run to the kitchen and I start marinating the carpet in salt, thinking that would protect me. Instead of like creating these ginormous lines of salt, because that's a waste of salt, obviously, I was marinating the windows and, and the doorway, thinking, yes, protection. Little did I know I was trapping it inside with me. See, Ghost Adventures, the TV show, didn't help me in that mentality. So after that, I freak out a little bit more. And then I obviously go to the internet. I say, Google, please help me find me some sounds to eradicate this strange entity. I don't know what it is, but I'm freaking out. So I'm playing this music, these different kinds of frequencies, and I hear this screeching sound come out of the speakers, which obviously was not a part of the soundtrack. Yeah. As soon as that happened, I immediately called my classmate. I said, "Hey, I'm dropping off your vacuum right now." She's like, "No, Christina, do it in the morning. You know what? It's so late. Don't even sweat it." And I'm like, "You have no idea what you just brought into my place. Yes, I'm dropping it back off to its owner." She's like, "No, no, do it in the morning." So at this point, I'm furious. I throw the vacuum in this little storage unit and I said, "Look, buddy, you're going to stay there until first thing in the morning. Once the sun comes up and you see it glow on your face, that's when I'm returning you back to your official owner." I slept barely with one eye open. First thing in the morning, I call the girl, I drop off the vacuum, and I never spoke to her again. Now, this took place when I wasn't deeply researching UFOs, which then turned into the paranormal. So I didn't handle it very well. Now I would have handled it very differently. And then I never spoke to this girl again. She would like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And I said, "No, not really. You have a haunted vacuum." A hard pass. Years later, I casually see her at the grocery store and I'm like, oh, thinking to myself, okay, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I know you. You're the haunted vacuum girl." And yet I said nothing because I'm super antisocial. And I just grabbed my groceries and left. And I still contemplate it to this day. And that is the haunted vacuum story. That's a little bit longer than it should have been, but that's how it goes. Lucas, thank you so much for that super chat. It says less than 2 months until we meet our neighbors. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we have until late November, or we might receive more details where it will no longer be behind the sun, 3i Atlas. And then by December 19th, it'll be at its closest approach to Earth. And so we will be receiving information from there. And this is really, really important because right now, according to our present understanding of the brightness of this object, according to the latest research paper, it's so bright that your amateur telescopes can probably look at it when it approaches closer to the sun again on December 19th. So we would not necessarily need NASA as much or the ESA to provide a sufficient amount of details, because now if you have a decently powerful telescope at home, you can find those answers yourself. So that's going to be interesting. Moon at Noon, thank you. It says Ghostbusters used a vacuum. They sure did. You know, I almost considered buying a Ghostbusters costume for today, that I didn't because I didn't have my size. But that would have been very appropriate, telling the vacuum story in such a costume. Cindy, hi Cindy, thank you for that super chat. It says, Christina, miss your paranormal shows and stories. Happy Halloween, all. You know, you can't go wrong with some spooky paranormal ghost stories, but it seems that maybe we might get back into it. I don't know yet, as things are changing for 2026. So keep an eye out for that. And Hiking Blue Jay, thank you as well. It says, do you believe that ETs and ghosts are the same? JD Vance recently said ET might be spirits, angels, and demons trying to steer humanity using AI. Yeah, so he mentioned that on the Pod Force One podcast just a few days ago. And it was a really interesting take from him, and yet nothing surprising. Why? Because we have received a lot of intel publicly that a lot of people in Congress, and in particularly in Congress, think that aliens are spiritual in nature, kind of leaning towards the demons side of it. We've had Anna Paulina Luna mention that they are interdimensionals, many of them, also pointing to the Bible and angels and things like this. We've heard Tim Burchett also touch on that as well. But there does seem to be a connection between ET and the paranormal and even the interdimensional possibilities, because science indicates that they exist, that other realms do exist, and maybe aliens jump into other dimensions to bypass long distance space travel. Like, that would only make sense. And because when we think about it from that standpoint, that makes even ET, extraterrestrial, and interdimensional if they are using interdimensional travel. The same thing goes for angels and demons. Because they did not originate here on Earth, therefore they are aliens. And it all has to do with perspective and the culture of things. So if I, just like what JD Vance said on Pod Force One, I could see an angel, you could see a demon, they could see an alien. It all has to do with perspective, but it is the labels that confuse us, and it is the labels that divide us. We see that in this topic and in all topics that humanity has ever discussed. It is the labels that really mess things up overall. So hopefully that answered your question. But again, as for paranormal and UFOs, there does seem to be a connection there. There was a lot of research done actually by Project Blue Book. J. Allen Hynek made a few reports that were released publicly after he left Project Blue Book, that there were some families that would have paranormal encounters in their home and then see a UFO in the sky, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter the order. And so the question would be, why is that? Are they working hand in hand? Are they one in the same? There are also only a handful of reports actually of UFOs and Bigfoot. I know that one's kind of crazy, right? But there's also a connection there for some researchers. So that one is worth looking into. But lastly, probably the most prominent one is Whitley Strieber has written a lot about the aspect of that, where he himself, and he has come across cases with other people that there would be instances that right before a UFO encounter, people would see a deceased loved one. And there are different ideas as to why that might be. It could possibly be this kind of this intercept, Whitley Strieber had mentioned, and I've had him on the show before, and he talked about this in more detail. He stated that these beings, aliens, interdimensionals, ET, whatever you want to describe them as, are using this interface of a loved one in order to create a better connection with the person that they want to interact with. Because of course, why would you want to speak to something that you don't know who it is? It's freaking you out by their form. Instead, you'd rather want to talk to your grandmother who recently passed away, right? Or one of your parents, for instance. It would be much easier to talk to them than something or someone that you do not know, right? So that has also been thrown around as well, and I think it's worth considering. It just goes to show how thin the veil really is, and when you take a step back and you really look at this topic from this interdimensional aspect, it opens the doors to these other levels of questions and interest, but also obviously covering UFO news and updates. That's what we always do right here, because how the world, the media, the government is handling this is also, we need to investigate that. We need to observe that and see how it is being handled or even twisted. The thing is that the things that I cover here, I report the information and then I allow you to decide what to believe. I do not place my bias or my stories or my opinions into it, because that's not what I do. Instead, I'm like, okay, here's the data, you can decide. Because there are so many places out there, anywhere across online or even in person, where people want to shove their opinions down your throat and you're like, no, 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 I don't need that. And that's what this channel is all about. It's for you to decide what you want to believe on this. And Michael, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate that. Santos, great to see you. Thank you. It says happy Halloween, Christina. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween, everyone. And to you too, Santos. Thank you so much for that super chat. Let's see your questions in all caps. Charles says, do you feel disclosure is much better? Much better, like compared to the past? Well, we've come a long way in the last, really in the last year. In the last few years, it's the ball's been rolling. But I feel like in 2025 and the end of 2024 into 2025 has been very beneficial for the conversation about UFOs. The media has been covering it much more prominently. You had these strange objects being seen in New Jersey, and then that's a whole different kettle of fish to get into. But regardless, it was just the topic of discussing it, them being mysterious drones or them being alien, these government officials saying that it's Iranian motherships, that they are aliens coming out of the water. Like, that was crazy. Now, the same thing is being seen in different parts of Europe, like the Netherlands, Denmark, England, Estonia, just to name a few. And then on top of that, you have Three Eye Atlas being brought up consistently. So I feel like in the last year, a lot has happened. There's been a lot more UFO sightings that have been reported as well. So I feel like we're in the right direction in much of this. Just covering it, just talking about it, that is one of the biggest steps forward. Miracle Stone, it says, your mascara is running mindfulness and gratitude. Everyone, love you. I think that's just like natural. That's just how I look every day. Just kidding. That's part of my makeup for today. So thank you for that. I see you got your eyes on my eyes, and thank you for that super chat as well. Let's see. Dun dun dun. Just place your questions in all caps, please. Cindy says, what's your favorite Halloween costume that I've ever worn, or like in general? My favorite Halloween costume was one that my dad made me when I was just a little child, and he made me into like a prisoner of Alcatraz. That was one of my favorite costumes of all time. But like to see someone else wear a costume, I like ones that are punny. They're just like puns. Yeah, I like those a lot. Or ones I have to kind of step back and say, can you explain the story behind it? Like, what are you? I like those too, because it opens conversation for other people. Alrighty. Hyde says, when will your RV be up and running? Hopefully soon. I know it's been super duper super delayed in so many respects. life just keeps happening. Things just keep changing. So it's kind of in the back burner. Kind of in the back burner right now. But hopefully I'll give you more updates on that. Oh, also, Cindy just came to me. Also, I think Pinhead from Hellraiser would be like a really good costume, as you can tell from the cube right here. Yes. So I like that one as well. And the movie is great and so freaky. Sherry says, "What's your favorite Halloween candy?" Ah, Twix and Kit Kat. Yeah, those are my favorites. But if I had to make one, like if I were out, I really like pound cake, like lemony pound cake. That's really good. And then any kind of sweet drink, caramel, lattes, hot chocolate. Oh yeah, that's my go-to. What about you? I gotta ask. Actually, for everyone, what's everyone's favorite candy, especially on Halloween? Please place it in all caps. Jake says, Beatrice Villarreal, opinion on her research. She's doing really amazing work. The fact that she was able to have 2 of her papers peer reviewed is a big deal because according to the UAP Scientific Coalition, only about 10 papers have been peer reviewed in the last several years pertaining to UFOs. So for her to get it 2 of them released is unbelievable. Her work is spectacular, but also the backlash that she has received is very telling. It seems that like because she has been denied access to multiple conferences when wanting to talk about this, she's had her name slandered as well. So I think that also adds another layer to her research as a whole on how the scientific community has been treating her since, which is very, very disappointing. But she keeps powering through it. Like she does really good work. I love what she does. Charles says, "Do you believe Bob Lazar is telling the truth, and it still stands till today?" It seems that a lot of people have been wishy-washy about Bob Lazar since the beginning, and then lately, I feel like it's definitely been more on people's minds about agreeing with him, not agreeing with him, and then this back and forth. I'm very much on the fence. I haven't spoken to him personally. I've only heard stories from others, and of course, the documentary by Jeremy Corbell as well. But I'm on the fence. I think here's a positive thing that he brought to the table, regardless on if you believe him or not. He brought attention to Area 51 in Nevada. Like that is probably one of the biggest takeaways, and the fact that governments are reverse engineering alien technology. And that really made a 360 turn recently when Ross Coulthart from News Nation said the Tic Tac, some of the things seen in New Jersey are Lockheed Martin, possibly reverse engineered. Not China, not Russia, not any kind of foreign adversary, Lockheed Martin. Then people were making the connection between that statement and Bob Lazar. So, do I believe him or not? It doesn't matter if I do or not. What matters is the information being provided and the conversation that has been pushed forward because of it. Let's see. Place your questions in all caps, please. It makes it much easier for me to catch them. Moon, thank you. I'm happy that you're enjoying the live stream. Burton says, "What's your take on the lack of NASA data? I'm a sub because you spare us the embellishments." Awesome. Thank you. So their excuse, NASA's excuse, is the government shutdown. So they're like, "Oh, well, we can't release any data because of the government shutdown." But it doesn't seem, in all the years that I've been investigating this topic, where NASA has been brought up time and time again, it's like the acronym, never a straight answer, especially when watching their press conferences, their media briefings as well. They're always very vague with their language. If we look at the last one, the latest one that they gave about the microbial life on Mars, Sean Duffy, and I took a little clip of it and I put it into this morning's episode of "We're ultra transparent." And then like I was already thinking to myself, okay, yeah, sure, buddy. But if we look at the latest media briefing, they they touch on the microbial life happening there, found in a rock. They get some scientists talking about the mud samples and the things that were collected based off of the rovers there, but that was about it. Now, there's a lot of ideas as to what's happening on Mars, like the structures, possibly the beings, the remote reviewing sessions, all of these different things. I don't have the answers to those, but I think that what we definitely know is that it was once a habitable planet. There's evidence of water. There was evidence of water there. Could it be habitable again? That's the question that we need to ask. Now, the statement might be, okay, well, there's no magnetic field, right? But what if we had a super advanced civilization? Could they fix that? Could they change that? Could they even terraform Earth, for instance, and adapt it to their needs? These are the questions that we have to ask, probably ones that NASA asks on a daily basis. But overall, it seems that their lack of data is not surprising. However, it is disappointing. And maybe that is one reason of many as to why the Trump administration cut their budget by about 25%, making it about $18 billion a year. Scott says, howdy, do you think the recent sightings are getting us to future contact? It's getting the ball rolling. The thing is, disclosure will never come from the government, ever. It will come from the people or the phenomenon itself. The fact that people, again, are just talking about this, showing an interest in this, that is probably one of the biggest steps forward to disclosure. So that if they do have a UFO sighting, or if there's like this mass catastrophic form of disclosure, people would be ready instead of putting their heads in the sand and saying, oh my gosh, everything that we're seeing here is demonic and now we're done for. There's a lot more to this. And also, with all of the reported UFO sightings over the centuries, goes to show that planet Earth has been visited for quite some time. It's continuously being visited. Now it's just a matter of time for when we will get this overall mass catastrophic disclosure. Now in 2025, it's becoming much more difficult to decipher what is real and what isn't, not only with AI and CGI, but also the reverse engineered tech. I feel like in 2025, we should have already had flying cars made public. We should already have craft like Tic Tac that's publicly available. But allegedly we don't, right? They're all behind the scenes. So when people see a UFO now and something that we don't know about, right? We don't know if it's ours or theirs. Now, if you are enjoying this live stream, hit that like button and hype it as well. If you're watching this on a mobile device, that is a great way to say that you enjoy this channel. And of course, all the super chats, really appreciate it. Thank you. I'll get to those next. And if you have any questions, please place them in all caps so that I can answer them here with you today. George says, and thank you. Congratulations, Christina. Your UAP coverage is top notch. I share your daily videos with our MUFON division down here in South Texas. You've got fans aquí en el Valle. Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, you can't go wrong with some good Tex-Mex food, right? Yeah. What about cactus? Are you into that? Cactus and scrambled eggs? I haven't tried it, but I've heard mixed feelings, mixed taste buds about that one. Mouse Jim says, I thought you were going to dress up as a comet. You know what? That would have been so good. That would have been so funny. And thank you for that super chat. But, man, now we got to wait until next year for that one. This is how I wake up like this in the morning, dead. And Jalil, thank you for that. It says, are you familiar with the concept 0-point energy and Lockheed Martin's research into this aerotronic fusion? I've heard of it, but I'm not incredibly familiar with it enough to provide a presentation, for instance. But this 0-point energy, people are just kind of like saying, oh, you know, allegedly, like we can kind of do it. I feel that in 2025, we should have it. It should be made public and it should be accessible across all points of life and technology. So when people see these UFOs in the sky, Again, it is very difficult to decipher if it is ours or if it is not. But I feel like most of it should be at this point in time. We're really behind in our technology. We were booming in the 70s, touching onto the 80s. We were like technologically so advanced for the time frame. And then it hit this stagnant point where we didn't really get too far. But I am sure that, so much research into zero point energy and quantum stuff has been kept super classified until who knows when. I really, at this rate, I just want catastrophic disclosure. Yeah, yeah. I feel like many of us are ready for it. Ice Fang says Butterfingers are your favorite candy. That one's pretty good. I do like that one too. Cindy says, love the pinhead. My favorite is Cyborg. Love Take 8. Ah, yeah, Cyborg. Good stuff. Can't go wrong. Like all that. Yes. Yes. Happy birthday, Apocalypse. It was yesterday, so spending it with you on your live stream is a real treat. Did you grow up as a horror movie nerd? I did not. Actually, as a kid, I was very scared of the dark. Yeah, I was one of those kids. I don't love horror movies. I feel like Hellraiser's kind of an exception. Also, Lovely Bones is not really a horror movie, but that one's also pretty freaky as well. I do like that one. And The Shining, classic, classic. But I will tell you something that I do not tell people. I've never seen Halloween. I've never seen Freddy Krueger. I've never seen any of those like super classic nostalgic movies. I tried watching it once, Halloween with Michael Myers. I struggled. I'm not gonna lie, I really, really did. But Hellraiser, yeah, that's my cup of tea. Oh, and Mouse send me an email. Okay, my email is in the description box below. It's Christina@ufonews.co, but just copy and paste it from the bottom. Because for those that don't know, my website is ufonews.co. It is not .com. I've seen a lot of mistakes, and that is totally okay. But yes, for the website, for all the latest UFO news, for all of the audio and video and any other kind of updates, that's all on my website at ufonews.co. And Mouse, thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it. It says, would you mind joining a panel next Thursday, 7:30 on the Shepherd Show? Yeah, send me that email, please. Thank you. Snacks today? I think I ate a banana. Oh, and a persimmon. I just started eating persimmons. Yeah, they're good. I was kind of surprised. That's what I had today. Let's see. Place your questions in all caps, please. It makes it much easier for me to catch them. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up with all of you guys. Yes, hype. Nice. Let me just actually. Okay, here's one. Wesley says, Christina, what is your opinion about Avi Loeb saying that if 3i Atlas is confirmed alien, there would be a stock market crash? I personally don't think that'll happen at all. I mean, my question would be, what does that have to do with the stock market? Like, I didn't understand the connection between the two. Yes, there will be mass panic for sure. People will probably be like pulling out money from the banks and collecting cash, which cash flow is definitely minimalized in the last few years. But would it like crash the stock market? I have no idea. I don't necessarily think so. I guess we won't know until it happens, I guess. If we even receive data, there's a very high chance that 3i Atlas will continue on its merry way out of our solar system. Or it could still pass Earth and not affect it in any way. Many people these days just wouldn't react the way that they did a few years ago if we got this kind of either mass form of UFO disclosure of some kind, or if we got like a seeing a landing. of a UFO. In this case, it could be 3i Atlas. I think we would get a little bit of Independence Day with also everything being streamed online. Have it be YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Everyone's going to be streaming it with such intrigue, a little bit of fear, of course, because we always fear the unknown. But we live in a different world. We really, really do. Eric says, I just watched Elon on Rogan talking about setting up a base on the moon. How awesome would it be to vacation there? It would be so cool to wear a spacesuit, to be with very little gravity there, jumping around. It would be so fun for like maybe a few hours. But to spend a long period of time there, maybe not so much, unless you're able to better. Well, there has been a lot of talk about revisiting the moon, going back to the moon, creating buildings there to create greenhouses and infrastructure and things like this. So I think then it would be more ideal to go visit, but going to visit there when it's completely barren, probably not. But going in a spacesuit would be so cool. Jeff says, Christina, how do you think you will react when finding out aliens are real and among us? At this rate, shrug my shoulders and be like, okay, like it's another day. That's probably my reaction. But it'd be so cool. I would love to talk to one of them. Just take them, like, give them some food, right? Chat it up, interview them, get to know why they're here, what they're doing, what they hope to gain, what they're investigating. These kinds of questions is what I would ask. But my reaction would be very chill of like, yeah, sounds good. Also, do you have noodles and ice cream, okay, on your home world? That's a very, very valid question. We all need to know that one. Sherry asking the real questions. If China isn't a government shutdown, or it's not in a government shutdown, why aren't they releasing their images of 3i Atlas? That's what we all want to know. The whole world is quiet about 3i Atlas. Yes, you had ESA release some images, a little bit of information on that. There are a few telescopes here and there, like the one in the Canary Islands, that took some images of the tail and anti-tail that was released by Avi Loeb. But it's all very quiet, all very done almost in the dark. And then information is very quietly released. Which we've been getting this little trickle almost every single day. Like this one new piece of information comes forward. But as to why other countries are not being vocal about this, that's a red flag. Because there really shouldn't be a reason for that. If anything, countries should be so quick and ready to be the first to release that information, right? To gain favor of the public, of the world. But no, we get nothing. It is really strange. Daniela says, what's your favorite sci-fi movie? There's so many. There's so many that I like. Okay, I'll ask you, all those catching this live, what is your favorite sci-fi movie? While you answer that, I'm going to answer that. I might have to get back to you on that one. Okay, no, I want to answer this one later. That's a good one though. Please put your questions in all caps. It makes it much easier for me to catch them and read them. Let's see. Angelo says, I prefer to call them neighbors rather than aliens. Valid. Labels, perspective. I respect that. Let's see. Oh, I answered it. What would you do if Atlas was confirmed as hostile? Just a hypothetical. Man, I'll just grab a milkshake, sit outside, and just watch how everyone and how the world reacts to that. That's probably all we could do. If they were hostile, there is nothing we could possibly do to protect ourselves. Yes, we have weapons, but if anything, the people on Earth would be much more dangerous because when people panic, that's very, very threatening. So them being hostile up there, people down here is what you should be worried about. So grab a milkshake, get on a lawn chair, and just watch it all happen like a movie. Let's see. Yeah, Toon John says a fear narrative would be pushed, but I suggest approaching any unknown with love. That's an interesting statement because with 3i Atlas recently in the last few weeks, people are mentioning that it's a psyop, that this is all fake and it's all leading to Project Bluebeam. And there's some information out there that makes that very mixed and confusing because hear me out on this one. I'm sharing my thoughts with you. What if labeling it Project Bluebeam is part of Project Bluebeam to get people's fear up there that it is a psyop when it might not be? You see that the waters become so murky, you don't know what to believe, and that's one of the best ways to create disinformation is creating a little bit of truth here, a little bit of false lies here, mixing it all together, and then people panic when they can't decipher which one it actually is. On top of that, there's been a lot of statements, and I haven't in the comments across platforms of there's this fear narrative with 3i Atlas. I have not seen it. I'm going to say that I haven't seen it. People are just releasing the data. They're putting stuff out there. They're saying it could be this, it could be that, but I'm not hearing, okay, you should go buy all the water for a year and buy all the canned foods because they're coming and they're to take over the world. That's what would be classified as a fear narrative. But instead, it's hitting the solar system, going through our solar system, might exit our solar system. But for the time being, we are all looking into this. We are all trying to collect as much data as possible on this. And this is what's happening. I haven't seen a fear narrative. So is that also leading into the narrative of Project Bluebeam? That's why it gets so confusing on this. And that's something that I want to hear what you have to say on that. Aaron says, Christina, do you think the 2004 Tic Tac was Lockheed Martin tech? I don't know. That was what was pushed by Ross Coulthart on a reality check a few months ago. And he got a lot of backlash from stating that. He says, I have people on the inside, I cannot name names, that have told me, and I'm quoting him, right? Paraphrasing, quoting him, that the Tic Tac was Lockheed. But then the question would arise, okay, well, that tech that we're seeing now, was it reverse engineered? And that's the question and the answer that we all need to look for. Was the Tic Tac that we saw in 2004 reverse engineered from an alien craft? Because that's what matters the most, in my opinion, on that one. And George, thank you for being a YouTube member. Appreciate that. Let's see. Burton says, do you think NASA's silence is a result of August 2025, NASA's reclassification as an intelligence agency per executive order? It might be one of the many reasons. Of course, the other reason is the government shutdown. And then while that was taking place, thousands of people got laid off from NASA, which is also going to affect the data coming out. But I don't think any of us were really expecting NASA to release any information about 3i Atlas, especially them holding back information from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which would collect the most clear images that we could possibly imagine with the tech that we currently have from how far 3i Atlas is. We haven't gotten it. And that tells us everything that we need to know. Is it to protect the public and to not cause panic and fear? Is it because knowledge is power and they don't want to give people information on this until they absolutely have to? Simultaneously, SETI changed their protocols after 15 years. That, number one, they cannot communicate with any kind of craft without confirmation from the United Nations. And simultaneously, that all data, which is kind of already in the previous protocol, but they emphasize this even more significantly, is that all data needs to be heavily scrutinized and all the data needs to be heavily collected before it is made public. And even then, it has to go through a few other locations before it becomes public. That happened at around the same time that the Asteroid Warning Network quietly released their circular that they are collecting scientists between November and January to collect more data on 3I Atlas. And it was also very quietly released that these international agencies are throwing their probes into the 3I Atlas's like path trail, cometary trail, to collect material from it from a few like million miles away from the craft, but enough for these probes and these satellites to collect some form of data. This is all happening behind the scenes. That information was very quietly released to the public, and that's why I make sure to cover whenever anything comes out about 3I Atlas, to cover it very quickly on my UFO news updates, because you won't casually find it online. It's really remarkable. Jaleel says, did you hear about the MH370, the missing Malaysian air flight? And do you think the government is hiding fusion propulsion technology? If so, why would they? Yes, of course, I've heard of the Malaysian plane incident. And as for the fusion propulsion technology, would they hide it? Yes, they probably would. But why would they? To make a profit. You can't make profit off of that. Enough profit, right? That's why we're so stuck on oil and gas, because it's always in demand. We need it for almost everything. But if we were to lead into another type of energy consumption, that would cripple the stock market for the time being. And until that advancement and that adaptation takes place, which will take a few years, the world would probably freak out financially, economically, to walk away from oil and gas. So that's probably one of many reasons as to why we don't have fusion propulsion, all these other types of energy, because it would affect everything and the demand wouldn't be there. And that's one of the biggest companies or places of work in order to collect so much money. It's all about money. Everything's about money and greed. Disappointing, but it is what it is. Let's please place your questions in all caps. Makes it really easy for me to read. And we just got a few minutes left, so make sure to put them in so we can answer them. I'm trying to quickly scroll through these. Larry says, do you believe in Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash of 1947? Here's the crazy thing about Roswell. Probably one of my favorite things about it is that it's a very convoluted story, but it worked so well with pushing it aside of, let me explain this in better terminology. Okay. When the government said it's a weather balloon, wait, no, it's a weather balloon. Yeah, excuse me. People bought it. And it wasn't until the 1970s when Roswell was resurrected practically from the dead. because of Stanton Friedman, this guy right here. He was like, wait a second, something's really weird happening in Roswell. Let me go there. Let me do in some interviews, some investigations, and figure out what's going on. It is because of Stanton that we talk about Roswell so much today. Why it has become the most famous UFO case of all time. But the government did a really good job on burying that story. So much so that no one spoke about it for decades until Stanton Friedman. That's one of my favorite details about Roswell. And I think it adds a layer of legitimacy to it. But there's a lot of theories, conspiracy theories, conclusions onto it. And I think it's a lot more convoluted than what the public actually thinks is going on. Probably a lot more took place than what we currently know, which is limited. We have limited data on Roswell. Yes, we have interviews. Yes, we have some debris collected, like Art's parts, for instance, that was then given to Linda Moulton Howe. But we don't have like a lot of data. And some think that 2 crashes took place, not just one. That's a big one. And then, of course, alien bodies were retrieved. Another crazy detail that was interviews that were collected by one of the nurses that was there. There's video. People say there's a video of them operating on these beings from Roswell, but we haven't seen it. I'd like to see that. That'd be probably a little gruesome and like sad, but what if they have a different anatomy from us? That'd be kind of interesting to look at. Let's see. I'm trying to catch all of your questions. Javier says, what's your favorite Halloween song? Today, I've only been singing the song from The Nightmare Before Christmas. That one, which is like a bunch of them. But any of Tim Burton's soundtrack. I like all of those Halloween songs. Those are my favorite. But I think I'm done with Thriller. I feel like that song has been playing for the last several centuries that I'm over it. Great song. I don't want to hear it again. Or Monster Mash. Okay, I don't want to hear those songs ever again. I feel like I've lived enough lifetimes for those. Any new music coming our way? For those that don't know, I do make music, but it's been in the back. So I will let you know when I know. But as of right now, no new music. But I do have quite a few good tracks. You can find my other channel if you go onto the profile on YouTube and it says recommended channels. It's called Other Worlds Ambient Music. That's my music. Take a look at it. Obviously, it's ambient, so that's a given. And it's really good just to relax, to do research with, to meditate with, to sleep with. That was the intention of creating that kind of music. Most of it. Also, my outro music, I made that as well. People in the comments are always saying, "What song is that?" It's mine, and it has no name. I have never titled the song. I should really consider doing that. But yeah, I made that one. So I really appreciate when you guys say that you really like it. Like, I blush and I say, "Oh my gosh, they like my music." So thank you. Oh, dang, Mark, you forgot it was Halloween? Yeah. Can imagine you coming on the stream and being like, oh my gosh, what happened to Christina? I would think the same. Happy Halloween. All right. We got about 5 more minutes. So, throwing your questions. 07, Tyler. How's it going? It says, if you could open a portal device to one place in the known universe, where would it be and why? The center of a black hole. Why? Because none of us know what's going on in there. I would like to know. That's my answer. Oh, or if you've ever seen the show Space Dandy, highly recommend. It's one of my favorite animes of all time. There's these little portable restaurants in space that sell ramen in the middle of space, little floating restaurant. I would also like to go there and try some alien ramen. That would be pretty solid. So two locations. And I will place my music channel link in the chat for you because I'm hearing, and I'm seeing, and I'm looking that people want to see it. Thank you. Making me blush again. So I'll put it in there. All right. It is in. Take a look at it. Obviously, after we end today's live stream, which will just be the next few minutes. Russ says, Christina, do you think there's been another crash at Roswell only in the past few days? No. Are there stories on that? Did I miss it? I haven't heard anything of that before. Well, recently. So I cannot place my opinion or my information if I've never heard of it. But that's crazy if true. And Shane, thank you so much for that super sticker. Really appreciate it. And Jaleel says, how would you react if you found out that some of the UAP are man-made? In today's age, I'd probably shrug and be like, yeah, it's to be expected. But it's unfortunate because it's very confusing for a lot of people. When they see things in the sky, right? How do you rationalize it? Is it creating that confusion by design or not, leading to a future narrative that will benefit those flying these man-made craft? We have to think critically with these kinds of questions. And my only advice that I could probably give anyone is trust no one. Collect all the data that you can, make up your own mind. But what you see, what you hear, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own investigations. Do not believe everything. It's that blind faith that can very easily manipulate others, and that's very, very dangerous. So, when you look in the sky and you see something strange, think of all the possibilities. And then also place a report. You can do it on MUFON, on Enigma Labs, on these other locations, and see if other people are seeing the same thing. That's probably one of the best things you could possibly do is report your sighting, because it will benefit you and others. Michael, thank you. Says Christina, you have become the GOAT. Bah. Thank you. Greatest of all time. Appreciate it. It took me some time to know what that meant. I feel kind of old saying that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool title. I'm just glad that we're not using the word swag anymore. Like that one was cringe then, and it's cringe now. All right, we got time for one more question. Let's see. One. Matthew says, could 3I Atlas be a massive meteorite? Guess we won't know until it comes closest to Earth on December 19th, or even your average astronomer with your average telescope can look at it. Until then, it's still up in the air. All the data that we're collecting, it's pointing it to being a very strange comet. Could it be natural? Possibly. Could it be artificial? Possibly. But the data that the public has received, which is like a little trickle of information, has been very, very limited. But we have been receiving things like every day, every other day or so. So could it be a meteorite? Could it be a comet? Possibility. Well, Loeb had mentioned, I think it was on Fox News or it was on News Nation. He created the Loeb scale. I was like, that's awesome. Where 0 is completely natural, 10 is 100% artificial, like alien tech, and he placed 3I Atlas at a number 4, which I feel like is a safe place, right? You're not wrong, you're not right, you're kind of right in the middle. So we'll see what happens on December 19th. But the 3I Atlas will be no longer behind the sun in mid to late November. Okay. a last one. Last one, because I still got a little more time. All right. Charles asks, if you have replicator technologies like Star Trek type, what will you do with these technologies? Please share. Thank you. I would probably replicate recipes for noodles, alien noodles, because I can just assume here. I'm just gonna take a guess. I feel like bread, pasta, and ramen is a universal thing. Okay, I want to try alien ramen like so bad. It's okay if I get a little sick. Can I get some food poisoning? It would be worth it. Totally would. That is it for today. I will see you on Monday for another UFO news update. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit the notification bell as I do daily UFO news and updates. Fresh UAP stories, government disclosures, and breaking developments land here every single day.